Don't forget that your skin is your largest organ, and the sun can be your skin's worst enemy. Dermatologist recommended Neutrogena products offer the ultimate protection for your skin. From makeup remover wipes to Hydro Boost Water Gel Facial Moisturizer, BJ's has your entire lineup of Neutrogena skincare products. And now through December 3rd, save $4 on any Neutrogena product at BJ's. Love your skin back and save now through December 3rd, only at BJ's.
Hello and welcome to History for Weirdos.
We're your hosts, Andrew
and Stephanie.
And each week, we're going to take you on a journey into the strange, obscure, and relentlessly entertaining corners of human history.
Now listen up, friends, because it's about to get weird. Hello, weirdos. This is Stephanie.
And this is Andrew.
And we have another episode of History for Weirdos for you guys. What number is it?
This is... Oh, I didn't check beforehand. This is the first time I've lost track. I think this is 15 or 16.
I think it's 16.
It might be 16, yeah.
This is embarrassing.
Last week, right?
That's usually how numbers go.
Shut up!
Well, regardless of what number episode this is, I just want to say thank you to Andrew, because technically we like to switch off weeks. You do one week, I do the next, whatever. And technically this is supposed to be my week to regale you all with a weird tale. But I am 2 weeks away from finishing graduate school, and I can barely find time to shower and brush my hair.
It's true. I can vouch for you on this.
Yeah. And so I asked Andrew to just take one for the team and do this week's episode as well as last week. So thank you so much, babe. I really appreciate it. I am currently writing my last paper of graduate school.
And your last paper of your entire academic career, probably.
Yes. I am so excited.
I told her I get to smack her in the face if she gets her PhD or doctorate and whatever. Well, that was your idea.
So that would be a better way of phrasing it.
Yes, that would have been, yeah, that's much better. I do not endorse domestic violence. This was her idea.
I told Andrew and all my friends, I was like, please, I might eventually forget, in a couple years, I might forget how awful graduate school is. And I might just be like, yeah, you know what? I was thinking of getting a doctorate. Just punch me in the face. Don't say anything. Just punch me in the face, because that's not necessary.
That's Stephanie circa 2023 right there. 2023, 2023. What sounds better? I think 2023 actually sounds better.
2023.
Sounds more futuristic.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. So, all of that is to say that Andrew has prepared a weird story for us this week.
Yes, I have. And this one's interesting. There's going to be a little twist coming up. That's all I'm going to say.
Ooh, I love twists.
And I'm just going to leave it at that. What
is this week's story then?
You know what? I decided to go over someone that should be more well known, but to be frank, just isn't.
Yeah.
His name is Tamerlane or Timur. Timur.
Okay.
And he's actually a distant relative of Genghis Khan, not a direct descendant, but a distant relative nonetheless.
Okay.
Yes.
A descendant relative, later generations, or? No,
he's not a direct descendant. He's they both have a common ancestor. So Genghis Khan's no. So Genghis Khan's great grandfather was also his many, many times great grandfather. Does that make sense?
Cousin?
Okay, shut up. Okay, you're just... At first I was trying to help explain it, and I'm oh no, you're just being stupid right now on purpose.
Wait, were they alive at the same time?
No. Genghis Khan died 150 years before he was born or something like that. Yeah, so very distantly related.
Okay,
Timur or Tamerlane. It goes
Tamerlane?
Yeah, and I'll get into that in a second. So Tamerlane or Timur, he was a Turco-Mongol, which means he was kind of Turkish and Mongol.
Okay.
Because again, this was well after Genghis Khan has died. So he was a conqueror who founded the Timurid dynasty.
Okay.
And that was centered around modern day Iran and Central Asia.
I've never heard of this.
I know, I hadn't either, which is really incredible because, and I'll get into it in a little bit, like, he was a very important figure, like, during, like, late medieval period.
That's so weird, and I thought I knew, not to brag, but I thought I knew quite a bit about Iranian history for an uneducated American, and it turns out, no.
No, because he wasn't, like, Persian by, like, blood.
Right.
He was Mongol
but
and
that's
Turkish.
Where his empire was.
Yes.
In present day
Well, let's get into that in a second. But his name Tamerlane is the Latinized or Anglicized translation of Timur Ilang, which translates to, like, Timur the Lame. And that's because he was like in his 20s, he was shot by an arrow in his right leg and became like lame and had a limp in that leg. But his ruthless leadership was ironically anything but lame.
Ooh, that's a good one, babe.
Yes,
that's
thank
a good
you.
One.
I'm bowing to everyone. I'm bowing. He was undefeated in battle throughout decades of being a ruler.
Wow.
Decades. Multiple decades.
Yes.
Like 35 years or something. And he battled a lot. He was super into conquest. And he's widely regarded as one of the greatest military leaders and tacticians of all time.
And I've never heard his name.
Never heard. Yeah, me neither.
Perfect for this podcast.
And his goal was the revival of the Mongol Empire that Genghis Khan like started.
That makes sense.
But it's interesting though is he was the most powerful and feared ruler in the entire Muslim world, and he was himself a Sunni Muslim. I'll get to that more in a second because much like I compared him to Constantine the Great actually a lot, who used Christianity as like kind of just a way, as like a means to an end.
Yeah,
and
it
I
was a
think
tool.
And I think he did the same with Islam as well. He saw a lot of people were kind of like reunited by it, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna latch on to that. But in reality, he didn't really care. It was just like he wanted power.
That's so interesting because I've actually just like passively in my mind, and let me know if you agree with this, have made the observation that men who are famous conquerors, because it's almost always men, tend to not be very religious or spiritual or whatever you want to call it, but align themselves with this divine sort of theme or with these divine entities or these higher powers or like the Catholic Church or whatever it is, like throughout history, they see it as a tool. But I don't buy for a second that you could conquer people on the daily and really be a spiritual person.
Absolutely. I think it's just one explanation to me that makes the most sense, is that it legitimizes their power.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and they see that and they're usually incredibly smart. Like this, I'll get into more detail, but he was no dum-dum. He was very intelligent.
Yeah, it's a very strategic move.
So you mentioned earlier about Persia, right? And Iran, like how like his empire was there.
Yes.
It was, but it was so much more. So his military conquest saw him conquer the land that comprises modern-day countries of Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, large parts of Turkey and Syria, and the northwestern portion of India, Delhi.
Holy smokes.
Yes, so he conquered a lot. Like it was a big empire.
That's a huge landmass.
He never got to the point where he was able to like revive like the Mongol Empire of Genghis Khan, but it was really, really freaking big.
Yeah.
And in a short amount of time too. Like he did this in just decades.
That's insane.
It is. And he referred to himself as the Sword of Islam and converted much of his empire to a religion. But, like I mentioned earlier, Tamerlane's own religious affiliation is actually unclear. And he may, again, have just been using Islam as a means to consolidate and exert his power.
Right.
Which, again, goes back to that theory we were just talking about.
Yeah, God wants me to be in power.
Exactly. It's just like, it's like kind of like a similar theme, rinse, repeat, throughout history.
Yeah.
So he was, by this and through just his sheer will, his magnetism, and his, honestly, his cruelty, he was able to effectively rule over a multi-ethnic empire through, again, using those those tactics I just mentioned.
He was a force.
He was a force to be reckoned with. Mm-hmm. He was incredibly, like, controversial and just kind of an enigmatic figure.
Even in his time?
Yes. I'll get to that in a second. So, like, while the central parts of his empire entered, like, a golden age, like, you know, especially, like, Iran, Afghanistan, like, the Levant, and, Persia, other parts, like, along the fringes of his empire, and, you know, including his enemies, were just not as lucky. In fact, like, because of his warmongering, a record 17 million people were killed directly as a result of his military campaigns. Put that in perspective, that's about that was about 5% of the world's population at the time. Today, there's 7.8 billion people, and if you were to take, you know, kill 5% of that, that's a roughly 390 million people. So that's basically, you know, the equivalent in terms of percentages. Yeah. Yeah. That's insane.
Warmongering is not chill.
It's so not chill. So not chill.
First thing that came to mind, I was like, geez, never has it been chill
Yeah.
in the history of humans, and yet we still continue to do it.
I know.
Wow. So he must have been, like, infamous and feared.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. But it's
And
really
hated.
strange. Like,
And loved.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And loved from unlikely sources.
What?
Yeah. So remember, I said, like, he was, this was, like, pretty much at the height of, like, Islamic power.
Okay.
And he was the central and most feared leader.
The sword.
The sword of Islam is, you know, as what he's, you know, that's basically what he named himself. So bloodthirsty and power hungry, but he also enjoyed ancient literature and could speak, like, 5 different languages.
Such a lovely combination.
Yeah,
Bloodthirsty, power hungry, multilingual.
Yes, I know. He was incredibly, like...
Well-educated.
Incredibly well-educated, and he could pick up languages really easily.
Oh my gosh, I wonder if he was a sociopath.
He might have been.
Or a psychopath.
So he loved eating at fancy banquets.
Yeah, me too.
And then proceeding to drink heavily during those, especially, like, after a meal, as was, like, I guess, Mongol tradition. You'd eat, like, a feast and then just guzzle a ton of, like, beer, wine, hard liquor, whatever.
As is Mexican tradition as well.
Yes. Yeah, I've witnessed that firsthand with your family. It's amazing.
Yes. It's a sight to behold.
So, you know, in fact, at one point, Spanish emissaries who were in his court in the early years of the 15th century witnessed this firsthand. And they also witnessed when, you know, one guest came late to the festivities, the offending individual had his nose pierced like a pig.
Oh, no.
Needless to say...
For being late?
Yes. Tamerlane treated, quote-unquote, raging, that's mine.
Oh, I was like, what?
With the utmost reverence.
So if you were late to these, like, boozy banquets, you were physically punished.
Yes. He did not mess around with these.
I know, I don't think our friend Mitzi listens, but she'd be so screwed.
She'd be so screwed.
I'd be screwed.
Yeah, Mitzi, this is a warning. I don't want to go full Timur on you the next time you're, like, 45 minutes late.
Wow.
Yes.
So no chill. This guy has no chill.
Absolutely not. But remember when you said, like, how he was feared and all of that? And I said yes, but he had friends with unlikely sources.
Yes, who are those sources?
Well, boom, I'll tell you that in about 3 seconds.
Okay.
So, those weird sources were the monarchs Charles VI of France and Henry IV of England.
You know, it's so funny. I was going to say he would have gotten along well with Henry VIII.
Yes, he probably would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely removed. They're a couple centuries removed, but you're right. Or maybe 1 century, whatever. Yeah, but yes.
Generationally removed and would have gotten along because Henry VIII also loved raging, as you put it.
He loved raging, indeed.
Wow. So why were they fans of his?
Well, it's because they believed he was saving Christianity from the Turkish Empire. Because remember, I know he was Muslim, Sunni Muslim in particular, but it was one of those things where he did it out of convenience, and I don't necessarily think he was, like, he wasn't like a religious zealot, like how I think they viewed like the Turks to be at the time.
Okay.
And so like he was more of like a pragmatic leader. And plus he fought the Turks, and you know, of course he was undefeated in battle, so he pretty much pwned them pretty well, often and early.
Even though he was undefeated and so bloodthirsty, they somehow saw him as less of a threat to Christianity.
Yes, and I don't know the rationale. I tried looking it up. There wasn't any.
Maybe the true rationale at the time was just they were really impressed.
It could have been that.
And they were like, I want that.
Because this dude came out of nowhere. Like, he wasn't like, you know, like he wasn't born in a royal court. Like, his dad was, I think, middle class or something.
He wasn't groomed for this.
No, he was just born, like, incredibly intelligent and bloodthirsty and scary. And in fact, you know, I didn't write this down because I really didn't want to get into it because it's not the point of the story. The point of the story is actually yet to come.
Okay.
But, like, he would be, like, the 3 times great grandfather of, like, you know, like a sultanate in Delhi or like in, you know, present day India. And then also like the other, like, many time great grandfather of some other like dynasty, like Khan dynasty.
Wow. So he had powerful descendants.
He did. Yes. Like generationally removed.
Yeah. That's huge.
Pretty cool. Yeah. So, he had an incredibly mixed and controversial past, but, you know, again, was a shrewd tactician, general, and political leader. I think he was pretty much unmatched during his time, from what I've read. And that's, I think, to be honest, I think Henry and Charles, they were like safely, remember, they're like Western Europe. So they're like, just pretty far away. And they're like, maybe if we just like send nice things to him, like he'll just like kind of leave Central Europe alone and then definitely leave us alone.
Right.
Which he kind of did, to be honest. So that was kind of cool, or, you know, from their perspective. But I mentioned that there were Spanish emissaries in his court earlier. It's because the Spanish king at the time, or the Spanish monarch, was very wary of him and sent these guys to like, hey, like, what's his deal? Yeah. Because like I said earlier, like, he wasn't like conquering to spread Islam. He was just in it for himself.
He was conquering for the sake of conquering.
Exactly. That's it.
He just
plain
loved
and clear. Yeah.
He found his calling.
He found his calling indeed.
Follow your passion, everyone.
I know, seriously. So he would end up dying in 1405 doing what he loved best, conquering foreign land.
That's how we all want to go, right? Doing what we love best.
Exactly. And so, you know, this time a very actually lucky recipient of his was Ming China. But, you know, and again, this is where the lucky part comes in. He would die before he ever got to the border with China.
Okay.
So, yeah, he was...
Yes, they're very lucky then.
Yes. So, and knowing his track record, it just makes them even luckier.
How did he die? Like, of what cause?
I think it was, I think he got sick, natural causes.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I was like, did someone, like, he finally get beaten?
He was old. He was, like, 70, in his 70s or 80s or something like that.
Okay. So he's remained undefeated.
Yeah, he was undefeated.
That's
in
insane.
Battle. Like, Julius Caesar was not undefeated. Like,
that's so nuts.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, no wonder monarchs in Western Europe were like, we gotta play nice with this guy.
Yes.
Just, you know, keep him at an arm's length.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, and in fact, like, he beat the Turks at one point, and like Charles and Henry sent letters to his court, like basically saying, "Congratulations, good job."
Oh my god, they were being asses,
kissing his ass. Yeah. So
I
don't blame him though.
That's how intimidating he was, though. That from such a far distance at that time, like, it would have taken so much power and determination and strategy to get near them, physically near them, but part of them must have believed he could do it. That's insane.
So, remember I mentioned that twist?
Yeah.
Here it is.
What is it?
We're gonna jump over 500 years in the future.
Let's go. I love time travel.
To the 20th century. So the date is June 19th, 1941, and on orders directly from Joseph Stalin himself, Soviet archaeologists exhumed Timur's body.
Why?
Well, I don't know why, actually.
Wait, do you really not?
I really don't. I just think they were just like...
I thought you were trying to, like, hold a surprise back still. I was like, wait.
No, I don't know.
Do you think Joseph Stalin was just, like...
I mean, he was a dick, so...
He was just, like, brushing his mustache one day and was like, you know what I want to do?
Like, this dude was a great leader and military, conqueror, strategist. Let's exhume his body.
Let's see what's fun.
Up. But, they did find some interesting things.
Okay.
In fact, he was, like, tall for the time, being 5'8".
Yeah.
And he had a very broad chest. And most interestingly enough, he actually had red hair and a red beard.
What?
Yes.
With his ethnic makeup, that's so interesting.
I think it's because, like, he was part Turkish, part Mongol, probably part Slav. But and also, it did confirm that he had a limp in his right leg. Also,
oh wow!
So that was historically accurate.
That wasn't just legend.
So the biggest twist.
It's not that he's a ginger?
No, that's not the twist. The crazy thing is we're gonna move on to his curse.
What?
Yes. So, and you heard that right. Yes, his curse.
Okay, his curse.
On his tomb, the words were transcribed, "When I rise from the dead, the world shall tremble." He also, which, first of all, actually, before I even get to the next thing, when I read that, I was like, oh my god, he's the mummy.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was like, that's basically like the mummy.
The premise of the mummy? I've never seen it.
I think it is. One, at least...
Propaganda, Andrew.
Probably, yeah. It made me think of the mummy, so it must be.
That sounds right to me.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of the one, of course, with Brendan Fraser.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course. And so, not the one with Tom Cruise, sorry, that one was just terrible.
I haven't seen it, so.
Okay. But anyways, moving on. So, there was a second inscription on there, and it read, "Whomsoever opens my tomb shall unleash an invader more terrible than I."
Ooh.
So cool. Remember that date I told you, right?
1941?
Yes, June 19th, 1941. Well, on June 22nd, 3 days later, a person you might have heard of by the name of Adolf Hitler commenced Operation Barbarossa, which was the invasion of the Soviet Union.
That is insane.
Yes. But even more insidious than that, this is like more insidious than Timur could have ever imagined,
right?
Was to essentially put Germans into what was at the time like Western Soviet Union with the goal of basically like genociding the Slavs.
Yeah, of
like
course.
People of Slavic origin, right?
Yeah.
And installing them with people of Germanic heritage.
Of course.
Like he even had a word for it. But it was basically like, it was pretty messed up.
Can you read the inscriptions on his tomb again?
Yes. So the first one that's not really applicable is, "When I rise from the dead, the world shall tremble."
That one needs to go on my grave. Okay.
Yes, I know, right?
Yeah.
"And whomsoever opens my tomb shall unleash an invader more terrible than I."
Wow. That's so accurate to what happened.
I know.
That's scary.
That's really scary. Yeah, someone worse comes along by far.
By far, like
maybe not in terms of the kill count. Actually, probably in terms of the kill count as well.
Just
no, definitely in terms of the kill count. Yeah, tens of millions.
Like died. An even more.
Like someone even more. Like someone who's just
someone
purely
more soulless.
Insidious.
Yeah. Ooh.
I know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because like Timur was just, I think he didn't like, his goal wasn't to kill people. His
goal was to conquer.
Yeah, it was to conquer.
As we know,
Adolf, I'm not even gonna joke about saying our boy Adolf, but like his goal was to like literally, it was just extermination. It was conquering as well, but extermination as well. Honestly, maybe even more importantly.
More importantly, definitely.
Yeah. Oof. But so of course, like I said, like the point of Operation Barbarossa was not only the invasion, but to effectively lead a genocide, in that region.
Wow.
And, at the time, this was also the largest invasion in the history of the world.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. So, luckily for the Soviets, though, the Nazi invasion was not a success. But was this due in part because of our boy Timur?
Why? What did he do?
So, His remains were buried with full Islamic rites in November of 1942, just before the Soviets' crucial victory at the Battle of Stalingrad, which would shift the tide of the war in favor to the Soviets. And then the Soviets started, gaining ground and taking back, the Soviet Union.
Well, it's pretty messed up to exhume someone just because you're tired of brushing your mustache.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm really glad that they at least gave him full Islamic rights.
Yeah, that's true.
And it looks like...
especially in the Soviet Union, which was, inherently atheist.
Yes, I'm so surprised they did that all.
They during Stalin's reign, they completely, deconstructed churches and mosques.
They must have been shook.
Yeah, I think they were really shook.
Wow. So in a weird way, Timur's legacy lasted centuries beyond his life.
Yeah, this happened over 500 years after he died.
That's insane.
Yeah, pretty cool. So, did Timur decide the fate of the world over 500 years after his death? I guess that's just up to your personal interpretation.
That is so crazy. I love that. I've never heard of any of this happening.
I know, me neither.
I had never heard of Timur in the first place, let alone what the Soviet Union did and then what the Nazis did right after. I feel like that would be a crazy cool detail to put into history classes.
I know. And that's what's so insane is I cannot believe I didn't know any of this beforehand.
Yeah. Where did you find out about this?
Did I not cite my source at the beginning? I don't think I did.
I wasn't trying to be passive aggressive. I was trying to.
So I think I originally saw it on Quora, Quora.
Oh, okay.
Not Quora, the Avatar. But so that was one of my sources, and then also historyanswers.co.uk. Allocation.com, silkroad.com, and of course, our best friend in the world, Wikipedia. Yeah.
That is nuts. And yeah, I love Quora. You find the craziest stuff on there.
I know.
It's a good one to get lost into.
Yeah, I think that's how I found out about this guy, the connection with Joseph Stalin, Soviets, the Nazis, all the good stuff.
Well, thank you for educating us on this. Is so weird. I love it.
Yeah, this was really weird. I like this
and
a lot,
I love
too.
the time travel.
Yes.
That's always fun.
Time travel is always a good time,
It's always a good idea. You know what we should watch whilst, pandemic still rages on? All the Back to the Future movies.
Oh,
I'm shocked we haven't done that yet.
I know, me too. There's 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, everyone else, do it with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode number. We don't know, weirdos.
15, 16, 183,
17,
whatever.
Whatever it is. And please keep in touch with us by subscribing to the podcast. That way you just automatically get the podcast when we upload new episodes every Monday. And you can follow us on social media at History4Weirdos. And it's always going to be FOR, not the number 4.
Exactly.
If you have a weird history story that you'd like us to look into or you'd like us to read your story, please, please, please email history4weirdos@gmail.com because we'd love to hear more weird stuff from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be really excited to hear more stories from fans.
Yes,
those are always
please.
good ones.
Those are always the best. So have a good week, weirdos.
See you later.
Don't forget that your skin is your largest organ, and the sun can be your skin's worst enemy. Dermatologist recommended Neutrogena products offer the ultimate protection for your skin. From makeup remover wipes to Hydro Boost Water Gel Facial Moisturizer, BJ's has your entire lineup of Neutrogena skincare products. And now through December 3rd, save $4 on any Neutrogena product at BJ's. Love your skin back and save now through December 3rd, only at BJ's.
We all know a guy who only occasionally shaves for big occasions, and it's because that occasional shave really hurts. It's the time of year for big occasions, and yet there he is, suffering with that cheap drugstore razor. Let's help him out. Henson Shaving's line of razors, built with aerospace precision, deliver a smooth shave your dad, brother, and even son can enjoy, eventually. With replacement blades just 10 cents each, you'll buy it once and they'll use it for life. How's that for the perfect gift? Celebrate with 100 free blades on your first purchase, and no subscription headaches. HensonShaving.com/holiday.